All right, so this is the top 5 Baitcast reels under $250. There's a lot of reels that I'm probably gonna miss on this list, so let me know in the comments what you guys think should have made this list. I love talking reels with you guys. Let's get started. All right, reel 5 on this list is the Lew's BB1 Pro Speed Spool, coming in at $200. Now, I actually got to cast one of these when I was younger. I used to pond hop, fish a bunch of ponds near my house. One of my good buddies had a BB1 and he let me cast it, caught some frogfish on it. It is a very nice casting reel. It's a workhorse. I'm not a big fan of Lew's reels. I did have a Speed Spool LFS when I was younger and I loved it. But the BB1, other than the Speed Spool LFS, those are probably my 2 favorite products that Lew's makes. I love the BB1. It's a great reel. It feels really nice in your hand and it casts really smooth, which I think are 2 of the most important things for a bait caster. Obviously, the one I casted as a kid was one of the older models, but the new model has great reviews as well. People seem to really like it. Now, I myself am more of a Shimano and Daiwa guy, so I'm not a huge fan of the Lew's style and the Lew's feel. However, this is one of those that makes an exception for me. I would fish with the BB1 all day long, no issues. Speaking of Shimano and Daiwa, number 4 on this list is going to be the Shimano SLX DC. Now, this is coming in at $200, which is a significant price jump from the standard SLX, which is $100, or the SLX XT, which I believe is $130. So that digital chip definitely brought it into a whole new bracket in terms of budget, right? The SLX was already fine in itself. It was already a great reel for $100. It probably feels more like a $150 reel. Then they went in and slapped a digital chip in it, and this thing casts so incredibly far for a $200 reel. It's awesome. I'm a huge fan of the DC reels. I actually have a Curado DC here. I've got a Metanium DC behind me. I'm a big fan of the DC stuff. And this is actually the cheapest DC reel on the market. So it's something if you guys were into, if you really wanted to get a digital control reel, other than buying a used one online, maybe for cheaper, I think $200 is probably the cheapest you're gonna get that in the US market. Like the Lew's BB1 and many other reels on this list as well, it is going to be pretty common to buy it anywhere. Almost any tackle shop is going to have an SLX DC, or at least just the regular SLX, either one. All right, now number 3 on this list is the cheapest reel on the list, but it, in my opinion, competes just as good with the last 2 reels that we talked about, and that's the Garcia Revo SX. Now, I have actually got to cast a Revo SX before, and one thing I noticed about the SX line is they just feel very powerful. They're a very powerful reel, just in terms of the cranking, the amount of horsepower that you really put behind your hook sets, and it's a very strong reel. So, in my opinion, this would be a phenomenal reel for frogging, Senkos, weeds, just overall pond hopping stuff. That's actually my buddy that I've got to cast one of these that belonged to him. We used to fish ponds together, and that was his reel he had, was the SX. And it was a really strong reel. These also have a really nice drag, and although I'm not a huge fan of the Garcia feel, like I said before, I'm more of a Daiwa Shimano guy, I still think the Abus feel really, this brand, this model particularly, feels really good in your hand. And now, although I'm not a huge fan of the feel of Garcia reels, I do really like the feel of this one, and it's also got a pretty good drag on it too. Now, number 2 on this list is going to be the Daiwa Tatula SV TW, and this is coming in at $210. Now, I'm going to say it right now, Daiwa's naming system for their reels, they have so many weird names on some of their reels, like the SV, TW, LS, all these weird things. But basically, the TW is T-wing, right? So these reels, they have where the spool, when you click the spool open, the line guide opens up, and so when you cast, it helps kind of evenly disperse that line as it's jumping out and not grabbing on other pieces of line. It's hard to explain, but if you guys saw a video of the T-wing system, you'll know exactly what I mean. I do think it makes a pretty big difference in terms of castability. I would love to see the T-wing in a Shimano reel to see just how much farther that would make a Shimano cast. But yeah, super nice reel, casts a mile. It's got that typical Daiwa look. It's that super shiny, comfy feel in your hand. I absolutely love this reel. It's a great reel, and it's gotten great reviews online as well. Now this reel, as well as reel number 1 on this list, also come available in a smaller size, so like a 70 size, and that can be really, really nice depending on what type of gear you're fishing, what type of just overall what type of fishing you're doing. So that's something to consider with this reel. Is you got a little bit to work with in there in terms of size and gear ratio. Overall, it's packed with a bunch of Daiwa's best features. It's one of their most well-known reels. The Tatulas have been around for a long time, and this one has just done an incredible job of keeping the Tatula legacy strong. Now, reel number 1, along with the Daiwa Tatula, is known for having a long line of this reel. Some of the previous models have been the Curado I, we've had the Curado K, we've had one of the newest additions, the Curado DC, and the new one is the Curado 150 MGL. Now, I don't remember a Curado reel ever having an MGL spool. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is one of the first Curados, or the first Curado that they put an MGL spool in. But typically the MGL spools are for more of their higher end reels. I don't think I've seen a lot of $200 reels or even sub $250 baitcast reels with the MGL in it. Typically that's been reserved for the Metanium, the Chronarch, the Bantam, some of the higher end $350 plus reels. So that's pretty cool that they put the MGL in a $210 reel. That's just gonna help the spool fly. The MGL stands for Magnum Light Spool, which is basically just launching that bait off the spool. I have casted an MGL spool before, and they freaking launch things out there. This reel, like I said before, is also available in a 70 size, so if that's something you would want, a little smaller, like jerk baits, in my opinion, is one I would like a smaller reel for. Some of the more finesse baitcast applications, yeah. Awesome reel. It's got just packed with a bunch of like Shimano's most well-known features, especially a lot of the features that have been in like your Bantam or your Chronarchs or your Metaniums. A lot of those higher end baitcasters, as they trickle down into new models, the Curados kind of they are the kind of the first in line in terms of getting all the nice features from the high-end reels. Same way as like the Stratic or the Vanford is in terms of like the Stella, the Twin Powers, and all of those. So it's pretty cool. A lot of your really high-end features are going to get put into the Curados first before moving their way down. And that's what we've seen with this new reel. It's gotten great reviews already. It is a phenomenal reel, and I cannot wait to get my hands on this reel in the future. If you guys want a rod to pair these reels with, I have 2 videos on some products right up here you guys should take a look at. If I missed a reel in this video, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to talk reels with you guys. Hope you guys got a kick out of today's episode. See you guys next time on Humbug Videos.